Fun fact about me, in the year of our Lord 2024, I am officially 25 years old.
God, I feel old for saying that.
And in those 25 years of my life, I've been into anime for a solid quarter of those years. I got into anime right as I started high school, which was early 2010s. And man, if you were also a low self-esteem teenager trying to discover themselves and you found anime, you just know that is a match made in hell right there. There's a lot of memories I'd rather leave repressed.
Ugh. Brother, ugh. What's that? What's that, brother?
And even though I'm not the oldest AniTuber on the block, I've been here long enough to have witnessed some iconic moments in anime. I remember the big three dominating the shonen genre. Haruhi was still super popular when I got into anime, with the Endless 8 drama still breaking early anime forum boards. I was there when Oreimo made incest popular way before Oshinoko did. Shout out to the OG incest fans who watched both seasons of this train wreck. I was there when SAO was made into the dead horse that the community likes to beat on, and I'm still here seeing the insane rise of the isekai genre and watching anime studios make collaborations I never thought I'd ever see. But even as things change and we get animes that are constantly pushing the bar higher and higher, the one thing that doesn't change is where most animes are set. Because if you're a committed weeb, you don't truly leave high school. Seriously, think about it. We watch animes with worlds that are magical and sometimes mundane, yet the universal constant for anime is this goddamn classroom. There are shows with post-apocalyptic settings so bad that humanity has been defeated and is nearing extinction, and we still have to come in and take an SAT? Like, really? What's next? Something anime about paying taxes? Nice try, Fed. And what's weird is that we as a community have seemingly accepted the high school setting. In a day and age where we call whatever anime we don't like mid, you don't see too many people complaining about anime being so focused on high school. So that got me curious. Why is anime so high school centric, and why has it been the industry's go-to setting for so long? I mean, there are animes and mangas that are set in college and in the workplace that are fairly popular, so you would think that would be motivation enough to experiment with other settings. But the answer that I found goes a lot deeper than just industry trends and cliches. The answer is a lot more complicated and a lot more depressing.
Cause I've been drowning in the melodies of Japanese net rap. Jesus, Japanese, it's the Far East vibes, oh my god.
If you ask your average online weeb why so many shows are set in high school, the average answer that you'd get is that it sells well. In Japan, most animes are aimed at kids, teens, and young adults, so it makes sense to create stories that cater to their main audience. And that kinda tracks. Majority of the people who watch anime in Japan are 5 to 19 years old. They're at that age where responsibilities are low, free time is high, no bills to pay, no rent to worry about. All it is just go to school, go to your clubs, go to the school festival, and just do your best and have fun. But it's not as simple as anime makes it out to be. It's no surprise that Japan has a very strict culture when it comes to working. I mean, we have an entire anime about a dude being happy in a zombie apocalypse just because he doesn't have to go to his toxic job anymore. But this strict culture of working and expectations also extends to students in high school. Japanese students are faced with immense pressure to succeed academically. This is because to get into university, they have to take some kind of entrance exam. The more prestigious the university, the more difficult the exam is. Think of like the CSAT test in Korea, but less standardized. These exams are some of the important events for a high schooler, and if they fail, they would have to wait an entire year or more just to take the exam again. And in a society that actively suppresses people that stand out from the crowd and worships conforming to the masses, the pressure is real for these kids to succeed. Just to give you an idea, in a survey by the OECD, they found that the top anxieties faced by students in Japan isn't even how difficult a subject is, but rather if they can perform at all during the test itself, alongside getting good grades. And when asked what their primary motivation is for studying, they just want to get into a good university, which you can only get through the one entrance exam. There's no personal satisfaction for them. It's one test, one chance, one university. Anything else is just filler arc. And it goes without saying that this leads some students to result in taking drastic measures given what they're facing, with students as young as 12 to 15 years old being involved in this. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. Not every student in Japan is horribly depressed. Or at least I hope so.
I have crippling depression.
But this has become notorious enough that there are loud criticisms of the Japanese education system with calls to reform to ease the pressure off of students. And the thing is, I can't even say that the light at the end of the tunnel for all these kids is something to look forward to as well, because as we all know, Japanese work culture is horribly notorious. At this point in time, there are so many YouTubers who make content in Japan that have talked about the dark side of Japanese work culture, so I'm not gonna retread the same ground. If you follow any of these channels, chances are you're more than familiar with terms like karoshi, which literally means death by being overworked, or black companies, which are basically sweatshops in office form. But the one thing I want to focus on is the concept of Premium Fridays. Premium Fridays was an initiative started by the late Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Please Have Sex, I Am No Longer Asking Abe, that allowed employees to leave work on a Friday as early as 3 p.m. This was done in the hopes of giving workers in Japan a better chance at having some work-life balance and potentially helping with the declining birth rate, as more personal time just means more time to go out and have a life. And you might think, that doesn't sound like a bad idea at all. It's a Friday anyway, it's a slow day for most offices. If you've ever worked corporate America, you know that Friday evening work is Monday morning's problems. But it really didn't work out the way they wanted it to. The Premium Friday initiative was basically a failure, with the government having just recently pulled the plug on the initiative as of 2023. Out of the biggest companies in Japan, about half of them didn't even implement the initiative, and with another 37% of them basically saying, yeah, we'll think about it. And what's more depressing is that in a survey of 1.6 thousand workers, only 3.4% of them said that their bosses would even sign off on them going home early. So even if you worked at a company that was involved in the Premium Friday, if your manager still said no, it renders the whole thing moot anyway. What started off as a plan to revitalize the economy and for people to hopefully bump uglies, it ended as an unceremonious whimper. Remember kids, Agretsuko is not a funny anime about animals, but a tale of capitalism and how your workplace absolutely doesn't care about you. Now, where am I going with all these depressing stats? It sounds like I'm yapping about a tangent of a tangent, so let me put things back on track. The simple answer as to why there are so many animes set in high school is that it's escapism. Imagine that you're one of the thousands of Japanese salarymen or women that are overworked and undervalued. You just got home after a night out at the bar because you couldn't say no to your boss's invitation or else you'd be seen as a bad employee. You're tired, you're miserable, and your social battery is beyond zero at this point. You wish that you didn't have to do this again tomorrow, but you've consigned yourself to the depressing reality that this is your life for the next 5 to 10 years. And if that is what you have to look forward to on the daily, why would you want to watch something that reminds you of it? Wouldn't you want to get away for a bit, to think of a world much better than ours? I know I went off on how high school is this academic black hole for students that sucks in hope and spits out stress and depressed needs. And while it is that to an extent, for many Japanese adults, it's also a nostalgic golden era for them. It's a time of young, dumb, innocent love. It's a time of ignorant teens trying to discover themselves and prove to the world that they exist. It's a time of freedom, of late night hangouts and with nothing but your friends and the moon keeping you company. It's also a time of fear, knowing that come graduation, this will all end one day.
In the West of like high school is like, you know, usually movies that are based in high school in the West are based off bad memories. Yeah. You know, being like, oh man, my high school fucking sucked, blah, blah, blah. There were all these shit people, the jocks, the bullies, blah, blah, blah. You're right. That's the norm in the West. In Japan, it's glorified because to a lot of people, high school was a really fun time. With like friends they'll never get back, and like because it's also the last years of that person being young and free.
I mean, I liked high school, but I wouldn't say
I liked high school.
And by and large, high school animes do a pretty good job in reflecting this. Growing up, I've always wanted to attend a Japanese high school cultural festival. And I know you shouldn't be using anime as a basis for a lot of things in real life, but plenty of anime show cultural festivals looking fun as all hell. Students running around trying to get things done on time, the laid-back atmosphere as everyone just wants to enjoy their day, the bustling crowd of students and families going from one booth to another, how you could just get lost in the sea of people and finding a quiet corner with your friends to take all of it in. There's no dread of tomorrow in that moment, but only the joy and fun of the present. It gives off major Anemoia vibes, memories that you might not have, but ones that you can relate to. I'm not Japanese myself, but I can totally see someone who is using scenes like this to get lost in their own memories. In a society where the rat race never seems to end, taking a moment to just stop and exist and to remember the good old days is probably a luxury, one that you can easily indulge in with the amount of anime and manga that are set in high school. Add on the fact that high school settings are just easier to justify story-wise. If a teenage character wants to buy something, then the story can just make them get a part-time job or wait for an allowance. If an adult character wants to buy something, then you gotta address really boring questions like rent, being able to afford food, traveling, or even personal hobbies. If a story had to address every single aspect of adult life, it would end before it even truly begins. It's just that high school has problems that are more open-ended and low stakes comparatively, so authors and showrunners don't really have to do too much justifying. I mean, do you really want to watch characters like Gojo do taxes for 3 episodes straight? It's like domain expansion. Oh shit, it's the IRS! And this escapism isn't just tied to adults. When you're a confused teen trying to define yourself, you wish for a lot of unique things to happen to you that you can call your own. High school in anime is just really good at reflecting that teenage desire to be more interesting. Think about it. An average anime high school story probably goes something like, the average looking guy and his niche club/friend group are suddenly joined by the new attractive transfer student, cause it's always a goddamn transfer student. The new transfer student suddenly joins the club/friend group, even though the average looking MC doesn't want to get involved because he wants to keep his head down and be under the radar. Next thing you know, they go on plenty of adventures, having coming of age story, and fall in love at the same time. It's a fantasy that writes itself. One that any young, dumb, and full of cum teenager would probably like to be a part of. And if you come from a sleepy town where nothing really happens, I'd imagine stories like these are really appealing to you. Add on the fact that we got different flavors of high school, there's a fantasy for everyone. We got magic high school, sci-fi high school, biblical purgatory high school, gambling addict high school, shitty horror high school, and my personal favorite, World War II tank combat high school. Yes, this is real, and yes, it's one of my top 10 animes. I have a form of severe autism, better known as being a paradox gamer. But I don't want to end the video there, because while I've shown you some of the hard facts about Japan and why high school is this easy escapist fantasy, I kind of want to show you guys the personal side of using anime as escapism. In a study by the Legatum Institute that scores how developed a country is based on categories like environmental protection, living conditions, and personal freedoms, Japan does really well in every category except social capital, which measures the strength of personal and social relationships, as well as things like institutional trust and social norms. This is backed up by another survey by the OECD that shows that Japan performs really poorly in 3 specific categories, which are work-life balance, life satisfaction, and civic engagement. Now, what the fuck does any of this mean? To not bore you with the smaller details, it basically means that Japan is suffering from success. All that wealth in technology and development comes directly at a cost of the social cohesion of its people. Japan is a country that technologically is 20 years ahead of everyone else, but socially, it's 20 years behind everyone else. Loneliness remains a huge problem in Japanese society. With an aging population and a generation of young people expected to take care of this older generation alongside working in a system that actively overwhelms them, many are just shutting down and are refusing to engage with the life that they have. And in my opinion, this tells you everything about why anime loves high school settings. It's much easier to think of a better world rather than trying to make one. When the world is shitty, you just want to get away. And where better to go than a place that represents innocence and wonder? For many in Japan, high school was the place where they got to experience life without the burdens of being an adult. Horrible bosses, unpaid overtime, relatives nagging at you asking when you're going to take the next big step in your life. All of this doesn't exist in high school. The great thing about being an adult is that no one tells you what to do. The bad thing about being an adult is that no one tells you what to do. You're on your own now. Hope you're happy at least. And side tangent, ever notice how isekai makes a big deal on how the main character gets to the other world, but not many isekais ever show how they'll make it back to their own? Almost as if going back to their previous world was never part of the plan. But I digress. A lot of this talk of escapism just reminds me of a story from the SCP franchise. Crazy crossover, but hear me out. One of the entries in the SCP Foundation is a book that, when read, allows any person to experience a fantasy adventure where they are the main character whenever they fall asleep. Sound familiar to you? When testing the effects of the book, a researcher volunteers to use it, then proceeds to fall asleep for 15 hours. Later, when the researcher finally wakes up, he ends himself, saying that he can't go back to this. And what happens next, I feel, represents why escapism, for as comforting as it is, can be dangerous. Later in the entry, you find out that in his dream world, the researcher had built kingdoms and raised a family. He conquered foul beasts and rescued princesses. He soon preferred the dream over the waking world. And it's such an elegant way of saying, yeah, life sucks, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to get away for a bit. It's a desire that's inherent in a lot of us. It's why we read books and play video games. Wishing that some circumstances in your life would have been better is not a privileged thing to do. It's a normal human reaction to the shitty hand that life sometimes gives us. But in that as well, it's important to remember that as sweet as dreams may be, eventually we all have to wake up.